All right, so we're gonna start talking about the jeweler saw frame and how to use this tool. This is really a pretty primitive tool. It's basically a miniature coping saw, and this is available to you in your kit that you're checking out for the class. And really, once you adjust these, you never really have to adjust them again. But the problem with changing these tools, from student to student, for semester to semester, you have to kind of trust that they adjusted this properly. So I'm gonna go over that. The other thing that's in your kit are a pack of saw blades, and these are really tiny little saw blades, and there's a piece of wire that you can see here that I'm kind of unraveling. And what I can do is I can pull one of these blades out of here, and you can barely see that. They're so small, but they're perfect for accuracy. And all blades, even though they come in a variety of coarsenesses, I guess, is that a word? Some of the blades are more fine, some of them have a bigger tooth, so they're a little bit more coarse, and there's a variety of them. But what I do for the studio is I buy a number 2, which is kind of a, somewhere in the middle. If you're looking for very small, detailed lines, something that's very precise, you want to go with a thinner blade. If you're hacking through something's a little bit heavier, you want to go with a coarser blade. But no matter what the blade is, they're all the same length. So what we want to do is, if we look at this tool, we'll see 3 thumb screws. And the top one here, and I'm just going to twist that, adjust the width of the frame. And again, since all of these blades are the same length, we really only have to adjust this once. So if I lay this down, you can see how I'm just kind of adjusting that a little bit. And I'm going to take my blade, and I'm basically going to place it in here. And if I can do this without you seeing my big stupid hand, I'm basically going to adjust the width of the frame so that blade ends up at the center of the threads of the thumb screw. So there's a little space. There will be a little bit of space in there. But so if I set that down, and hopefully everybody can see that. Now that I have that, I'm just going to tighten this thumb screw, and I'm only going to tighten that by hand. I don't want to take a pair of pliers. I don't want to put it in a vise, because all I will do is strip out that thread, and then the tool's not going to work anymore. And really, it's just finger tight, and that's good enough. The other thing that we're going to look at is you can actually see these thumb screws here. And if you look at that really closely and see if I can get a kind of a good angle at that, the thumb screw basically puts pressure on a piece of plate that presses against the frame itself. So pressure is the only thing that holds this blade in place. There's not any fancy connections on the ends of the blade. They're just really flat. And I know this is hard to see with this GoPro, but I took an image here from Chuck Evans' book that really kind of shows you the correct installation of the blade. And if you look really closely here and see that's my zoom, I just lean my head in. But these the angle of blades are actually kind of pointing in this direction. So they're actually pointing toward the handle of the saw frame. And they're really hard to see. And when you get older like me, your eyes don't work as good as they should. So when you look at the blade, you're really looking to see that those teeth are angling down. And on this video, I know it's going to be impossible to see. And sometimes if it's a real fine blade, it's hard to see too. But what I do is I'll take my thumb and very lightly just kind of kind of rub against the blade. And I mean, I don't want to do it fast because I'm going to cut my finger. But you know, if I move in an upward motion, I can feel how the blade is actually, like, you know, just kind of grabbing, you know, the skin of my thumb. And again, I'm not pushing really hard, I'm just like pressing a little bit. So the next step here is to make sure that I got a little space between those two plates. And I'm going to put the blade in between those two plates and then just tighten that by hand. Okay, so it's tight on this end, the teeth are pointing toward the handle, and now I have to put it in between these two plates at the top. Now the trick to this is I need to press this against the, you know, a table or a bench pin. I'll talk about the bench pin in a minute. And I'm just going to kind of lean into, and I know you can't see me, I'm going to lean into that handle to put a little pressure on the frame and then tighten that. And I know this is a little bit difficult, but if we look at our saw frame right now, we can see that there's just a slight bow in the frame. You know, so I want to push hard enough where there's this slight bow, but not so hard that I permanently bend the saw frame. But it is this bow that creates tension against this blade. So if I take my thumbnail, and if you can hear that little ping, I know that this blade is tight. If there's slop in here, or I don't, you know, get the ping, just readjust this so that your blade is tight. Because if it's not tight, all you're going to do is break blades. And you know, I've had a lot of students that have had some jewelry experience, you know, in high school, and they always say, I hate sawing, all I do is break blades. And the only reason they're breaking blades is because their tension is not correct. But this saw frame now is ready to go. So we'll get into cutting in the next video.